all about for you then?
Just trying to live another day. Boss, we're barely holding on.
Sounds like it's just some of your daydreaming stuff.
Hey, what's up everybody? This is Osterberg501 and today I want to go over an incredibly strong Technomancer build in the Outriders demo. Now before we get into the video, less than 5% of people that watch my videos are subscribed to my channel. So make sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with all of my uploads. Now, like I went over with my first build video, this is a theory crafting build. This is by no means a full build. We have so much stuff we don't have access to in the demo. We can't get anything above rare armor. We only have 2 skill points. We don't have all of our abilities. But without all of that stuff, we can still do some theory crafting to make some good guesses on what's going to be a strong build when the game is fully released. Now, with that in mind, I'm not going to go over the class tree because we only have 2 points to put into that. I'm not going to go over all the weapons, over all of the armor, or over all the abilities I'm using. This is mainly going to be focused on going over the main ability that the build focuses on and the armor perks that affect and augment that ability. And this build is going to be completely focused around buffing and augmenting the Blighted Rounds ability for the Technomancer. And this ability is fill your current weapons magazine with decay-infused bullets that inflict toxic onto enemies. Enemies within a small radius of the main target also receive toxic, and 50% of the damage dealt to whatever target you're currently shooting. The skill lasts until you reload or switch weapons. So essentially what this does is you buff up your weapon, so when you shoot a target and inflicts toxic on them, it chains toxic to every enemy in a certain radius around that enemy you shot, and then all the enemies around will take 50% of the damage you hit that initial enemy with. And the toxic status effect in Outriders is essentially just a damage over time effect. And even at this low level, it actually kills things very, very quickly. Now that's not to say toxic will be this strong once you get to higher levels, once you get to higher world tiers, but it seems to be a pretty high damage over time status effect. So the first mod we are using is No Pain, No Gain. When the skill ends, 40% of the damage dealt by the skill is turned into healing and spread equally among allies. And pretty much all of these mods are going to be for Blighted Rounds. So essentially what happens is you activate the skill, and if you switch weapons or reload to then put the skill on a cooldown and end the skill, it will then heal you and any allies for a percentage of that damage, 40% of that damage. And it's split, so that means if you're solo, it's going to give you all of the healing. Now with how much damage this ability does, unless we have incredibly high health at endgame, this is probably going to heal you for 100% of your health. And with some of the other mods that we're using, the ability actually does not end very often, especially if you're in combat with a lot of enemies. So you can essentially use this as a on-demand heal, because you can either force yourself to reload to end the skill, or you can just switch weapons and then switch back to the main weapon you're using, and that will end the skill and instantly heal you for probably 100% of your health. And you will see with stacking up some of these mods why this mod turns this ability into a heal on demand, because you have so much control over when you want this skill to actually end. So the next mod is Spare Mag. The skill is effective for 1 additional magazine before triggering the cooldown. So this is the first part of being able to control when this ability ends, because now, even if you reloaded once, it's not going to end the skill and give you that heal. But if you then use 2 magazines, it will do it like normal. So this ends up becoming that if you need that heal, that switching weapons is going to be a much more effective way of then getting the heal from the first mod we went over. And this is also going to allow you to use this ability much more before it goes on cooldown, allowing you to put out a ton more damage by essentially doubling the use of this ability. And this next mod pretty much completes the ability for you to control when this ability ends in a lot of situations. This is Trick Up the Sleeve. While the skill is active, killing shots grants you 30% extra bullets in your magazine. So essentially when this skill is active and you kill any enemy, you replenish 30% of your current magazine. So depending on what weapon you're using, and if you're facing a lot of enemies, there's a pretty good chance that not only this skill isn't going to end until you're out of combat, that there's a pretty good chance you also won't have to reload until you're out of combat. And like I said, with going over the mod that turns this ability into a heal, You can choose when to use that heal if you need it by just switching weapons. It puts a skill on a cooldown, instantly heals you for a ton of your health or all of your health, and then you can just fight normally and wait till this ability is able to be used again because it doesn't have that long of a cooldown baseline. And this final mod is just a massive damage increase. This is critical analysis, increases critical damage by 30%. And something big to note with the Blighted Rounds ability is that whatever damage you hit on the initial target you're shooting is what all the other enemies in the area are going to take 50% of. So if you hit a crit on that enemy, all the enemies in the area are going to take 50% of that crit, making any damage increases like this massive, and will also increase the damage all the other enemies in the area are taking. And something nice with a build like this is that you essentially have your pick to whatever weapon you like to use. I personally am using a pump shotgun with good lifesteal because lifesteal synergizes well with this build. Because with something like this, getting closer to the enemies helps because enemies have a better chance of grouping up on you, allowing you to do more damage with Blighted Rounds, and then having that lifesteal allows you to stay alive longer, getting more and more kills, which will just replenish ammo back into your weapon, which keeps your Blighted Rounds going. Synergizing very well with just keeping yourself going and getting tons and tons of kills. And that's pretty much all I want to go over with this build. And like I said, this isn't a full build. This is just essentially a theory crafted build using the tools we have been able to use in the demo. And keep in mind that as we get into the full game, we're going to have additional class points used that are going to massively augment and buff our builds. We're going to have double the amount of armor mods because once we get up to epic and legendary, we have 2 mods on each, which is going to massively augment all the abilities we use. We're going to have more abilities to further synergize with our Blighted Rounds, and then we're going to have weapons that we can change mods on and use different weapons that will then synergize and mesh well with our Blighted Rounds. So subscribe if you want to see more Outriders or other videos. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a comment down below what you guys think about this build, and thanks for watching.
The old solar tower. But it's a mess out there. Everything's upside down.
Yeah, I noticed. Don't worry, I'm carving my way through it.